What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 34 of Nintendo Noise, Flip Screen Games' weekly Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined as always by my very good friends and co-hosts, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello, hello.
And Mr. Chuy Plays.
Goodbye, goodbye.
Welcome back, boys. How we doing this week?
Yeah, not bad.
Chatty.
Looking forward to talking about stuff that's
Yeah.
not to do with Nintendo, apparently.
Yeah, everybody's in a chatty mood today. We sat down to record this podcast 30 minutes ago, and I have started and restarted the recording, I think, 4 or 5 times now. So we're in a rare fucking mood today, everybody. Oh, and good. I just got the episode totally demonetized because I cursed in the first 1 minute. So thanks for that, YouTube. So yeah, then nobody will ever see this one now too. So yeah, we're off to a good start. We're off to a good start today. But I think that means that we're gonna have a truly electric episode, right? Like we're feeling it today. We're in a groove. We've got like 9 things to talk about. So let's get into it. This is Nintendo Noise. It's the weekly Nintendo podcast of Flip Screen Games, and of course, it is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of April. They are, of course, Christian Oliveria, Christopher Valens, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, a.k.a. Asobi, Mary Berry, Smilky Shake, Waka Hula, and Zaid Ida. Thank you all so much for your support of this fine program. And, of course, if you want to go and show your support for this show, there's a bunch of ways you can do that. You can go and back us on the Patreon just like those folks did and get access to a bunch of perks and goodies like our exclusive podcast, early access to this show, and a bunch of other more, perks and goodies, good stuff. Go check it out. And then if you want to get links in for all the other ways you can get involved with the Flip Screen community, head over to flipscreen.games. That's our website where we've got links to our Discord, our email, and a bunch of other stuff. Now, there was a very special thing that happened here in the realm of Flip Screen this week, and I wanted to talk about it. So our friends of the show, Parker and AJ, they've been on the show before. You will know them as the artists formerly known as Fanatics 4, have relaunched their YouTube channel as Redirect. So go check them out.
What you did there. Relaunched.
Yeah. It's that's the nice thing, right? You can get a lot of mileage out of that. You can see why they made the change. And of course, for, kind of like the debut new video on the channel, right? Chuy got to collaborate with Parker on a very special video all about Animal Crossing town themes. So why don't you give the folks a quick elevator plug?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. Basically, he told me what he was working on, and I immediately had tons of questions because I was like, yes, I've been wanting to know this stuff forever. But it's a video on how villagers change up your town tunes in Animal Crossing, because when you create a town tune in that game, it'll appear in a bunch of different ways throughout the island and that sort of thing. But whenever you have an initial conversation with a villager or like a special character, it'll play the town tune. And that version of the town tune you get is like tied to the character in different ways, depending on like the species, where they're from, the personality type. So yeah, it was a really good analysis on that. I liked it.
It's a really fun project.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and one of the hardest things about that too is like Nintendo games never have sound settings for anything too. So I was just like, man, the hardest part about this is literally just catching that sound, because even like if you get them in a quiet room or something, you're gonna hear their animalese, so they kind of like talk over it, and it's a pain. But he did a good job of like highlighting it as best as he could. It was awesome.
Yeah, definitely go check it out. Shout out to those guys. We love Parker and AJ, some of our best buds in the world of content creation. So go and support them on their new endeavor, which is the same endeavor, just with a shiny new coding there. So if you're already a Fanatics 4 fan, you're already there. But if you've never checked out their stuff before, go check out Redirect. We'll have a link to the video down below. So now that we're through with that, we, like I said at the top, we got a lot to talk about this week, okay? So I want to start by talking about a game that we talked about at the jump, and I feel like we've kind of been, I don't want to say avoiding, but I certainly haven't wanted to think about it too much, and that is, of course, Fire Emblem Three Hopes, which is the new Fire Emblem Warrior game. And we got a brand new trailer for it this week, and I gotta say, this made me feel nothing. I
Doing
just
nothing at all, no reaction. It's
I
just like
hate it. I don't want this game to
you did feel
exist.
something. You hate it. That's the feeling then.
I guess, but like I don't know, man. It's just
I mean,
Why don't you want it to exist? Because it's canon.
like I don't want more of this style of game. I hate that like their gating story behind it. Like I just like the story itself. I'm like I don't know about all this. Like Chuy, where are you at with this?
it made me feel something they probably didn't want me to feel, but probably don't care either. And honestly, it just made me want to play more of the Paths of Three Houses.
I've
I
heard a
have
few people
had
say that. Yeah, I just want to put a
there's
replay ahead of this.
yeah. There's one route that I did one route. I did the Black Eagles route, but I also saved that route in like the crucial point where like there's an option to split in two different directions because like the
Yes.
base game has four different outcomes basically that you can get to. I also have the DLC that I never played as well, and I'm like, well, I paid for that. I should probably play it at some point. But yeah, like I just wanted to play more Three Houses and then just watch the cutscenes for whatever this is. Like I don't need to. I already did it with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and I was like, this is fine. I've never really gotten one of these games. This is the only way they were ever going to get me with it and have me be interested to some extent. And now that I've played it and done that, I'm like, cool. I got my fill of this for a lifetime. I'm just going to watch the cutscenes when somebody posts them on YouTube. That's it.
And it's like I had that moment with Persona when they did Persona 5 Strikers, and I was like, yeah, if this couldn't get me, nothing will. And it's like I also know that this is like not going to run well because
the last three haven't ran well on the console.
Yeah, like
so
the Switch can't handle a game like this. So it's like I don't know. It just feels like a bummer. And it's like I'm looking at this cutscene and I'm like, man, I miss these characters. It's cool that everybody has new hairstyles and new armor and like I would love to spend more time with these characters in literally any other way. You know, I can't.
And that's such a like rare thing in Fire Emblem too, because you literally like it's a different cast every time. Like every game, it follows that formula. It's more what's the word for that? I can't think of it, but it's just you don't get so much time with them. I mean, to be fair though, too, with like Three Houses, you do have the opportunity to play through like 5, 6 different routes at this point if you buy all the DLC and stuff. So you can spend as much time with these characters as you like. But yeah, this is not the way I want to. I'll watch the cutscenes. I'm excited for those. They looked good. The cutscenes in Age of Calamity were really good. Like you don't have to worry about like the mountains of enemies slowing down whatever you're seeing on screen, you know? But yeah, so I don't know. I think that part of it'll be worth it.
Is the story in those games only in the cutscenes? It's not like peppered throughout? Because I remember playing the demo of Age of Calamity, and they were like all doing some level of voice acting and narration, but I don't think it was really all that important. I think you probably could discern what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, that game is like, it does have little bits of text and stuff, but it's really just going toward whatever direct mission you're on. Like, once you get to the cutscene, that's where the actual, like, bulk of the story is. So I don't think you really have to play it. You could just watch it, and it's fine.
How long are the cutscenes? Is it like a 15-minute video that someone would supercut and pop on YouTube?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked it up. I don't know how long it is, but it was pretty hefty because it does like half of the game fills in a lot of the information that we kind of knew from whatever the outcome was in from Breath of the Wild, which it was nice to get that filler too. But then like the second half of the game just like completely jumps and is like, all right, now that you've seen what happened, let's like change that completely. So. It does go in its own way.
How long do you two think it is? If you had to guess, the cutscenes in Age of Calamity combined together, including a secret ending, how long do you think that would be?
Maybe like 2-3 hours.
I was gonna guess way lower for some reason, even though I played
it's 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
that
makes sense to me.
You can just watch it as a movie. So what they,
And
that's what they did when you got Shenmue 2 on Xbox, because they never bothered to port the first one. They put a DVD in there called Shenmue the movie, so you just watched all the
That's
cutscenes of what
hilarious.
happened in the
that's
first
kind of
game.
awesome,
They put a
actually.
DVD in. That's great.
You got a DVD, you watch that, find out what happened at the end of Shenmue, and then you can carry on with Shenmue 2 because they never bothered porting the first game.
That's so funny.
That's not too bad, actually.
No, that's not a
See,
bad idea.
I wonder. I bet you this game will have like probably 4 hours at least of other story, because it seems like it's completely new storylines.
Yeah.
You have 3 different ones with all the characters, so
I mean,
I'm
like,
sure it's packed with that.
Steve, can you look up the same thing for Persona Strikers? Because I bet you that's a lot longer. I feel like I definitely played more than, well, maybe not 2 hours of just cutscenes, though. I don't know.
So if you see all of the cutscenes, all of them, for
Mhm.
every single character, it's 13 and a half hours.
I mean, that's a lot longer. I mean, it's still not,
One story arc, so if you just follow on Alice's arc, apparently it's 3 hours and 50.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think it depends on who you go with. Kyoto's 1 hour 50. Okinawa 1 hour 36. So if you merge them all together, that's a lot you've got to get through. Like, if
Yeah.
you're doing the cutscenes and the game, it's probably like, what, 40+ hour game?
Yeah, it's got to be long.
I think I tried watching like some of the Xenoblade Chronicles first game cutscenes. I think that video was like 10 hours or so.
Oh my god.
Like just from the cutscenes
Crazy.
alone.
That's ridiculous. All right. So, I wouldn't expect a lot of coverage from us on this one. That's what I'm going to say. If you, the listener, are excited about this game, let us know. Let's talk about it in the Discord. Why? What about it has you jazzed? Like, are you generally a Muso fan, or are you just a Fire Emblem fan? Like, what about this is doing it for you? Because I think, if anything, I feel more inclined to do what Chuy said and just go back and do another run of the actual game. Because that's what I want.
I mean,
right?
look, if you remove the Muso stuff and it was just like a tactics game, I'd be so into it.
Yeah.
Because I am in such I've almost bought like Triangle Strategy a few times now, and I'm just like, why isn't Advance Wars coming out, Nintendo?
I just
like,
want
please, uncancel it. Like, I just want
you
something
both
like that.
Did you both play the DLC for Fire Emblem Three Houses?
No. I did get it, but I haven't gotten to play it.
So maybe that's the
Yeah,
go back do
that's
that
the next
instead.
step.
Instead, do that.
Yeah, because I also haven't played it because it came out after I beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
I've never gone back to it. But this actually presents a great segue into a little question block style question. It's not actually one that a user wrote in with. This is one that I saw on Our Nintendo a couple weeks ago over on Reddit. This came from Asad Faruqi, who posted, what Nintendo series do you think should get a collection next? And, they called out some examples of ones in the past, right? Super Mario All-Stars, the Metroid Prime trilogy, Kirby's Dream Collection. So, something we've seen quite a few times in the past from Nintendo, right? What series, and you can give a couple answers, but if you had to pick one.
I've got one.
Okay.
And we've kind of already had it, which is I want a Mario Party collection, but I don't just want the like half-assed one we've sort of got already with like 4 boards. I want a Mario Party collection.
But do you want it to be the old games, or do you want...
I want the boards in a new engine, the same mini games, but like in the latest engine.
So,
as
but
like
this
a
is
remaster.
more talking about a collection of retro games, though, in the way that we had like the Mario.
The 3D All Stars.
Yes,
collection.
like if we were gonna get that, what would you want?
I would mind like a sports collection, like being able
Mario
to go
Sports?
back and play all of the Mario Sports games, bundle some of the best ones that we haven't had on the Switch. Because I know Mario Golf is coming to N64 this week, so that one's kind of, we don't really need it. But stuff like Mario Hoops, for example, you'd finally be able to play that game and have it on the Nintendo
Give me
Switch
Mario
this time.
Hoops, you cowards!
Yeah.
Download it on your Wii U.
Yeah, and then the baseball one. What was that called?
Sluggers.
Yeah, I think you're right. Mario Sluggers.
Oh, I didn't even know they did a baseball one. And then the aside from the obvious, which would be like Zelda, which I think everyone wants, I would also want them to resurrect the Game and Watch collections. They were so fucking
Oh
good.
yeah.
That would be
And
awesome.
I would absolutely love to have them come over to the Switch and just do all of the Game and Watch games. Just put them all in there. Let us play them. You could do it like you can keep adding to them if you need to. If you need to charge us for DLC and we can get our favorites in there, then fine. But I liked the fact that you could play the originals as they were, and then you could also play like the recreated versions that they've done. They were great collections back on the Game Boy and the DS, and if they could bring those back, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, that would be a really good one. That's a good call out. Hopefully, we eventually get GBA games on the virtual, or not virtual console, but on the NSO
Switch Online.
Yeah, and then maybe we could at least get a port of that because that's such a fun game. Underappreciated gem on the GBA, I would say.
And honestly, I had trouble with this at first too because I was like, they have the NSO stuff. Like this N64 app exists now. Give me all the Mario parties. 1, 2, 3. I want all of them. Just put them on there. So at first I was like,
any multiplayer games through that online system though, because I've tried it with Pete. And it's just not great.
It's not good.
So,
Star Fox was
I'll
okay.
play them in person.
Mario Kart was giving us trouble, but we did Star Fox and that worked out. Remember?
The problem you had was you were looking at the wrong screen for Star Fox.
Yeah,
you were on that delayed one.
Yeah,
that was.
But I also didn't play Star Fox with you. I think it was an overseas thing. It was probably a latency problem.
Yeah. I was playing with people on the East Coast, so that was no big deal.
But they might have fixed it. We haven't tried it since, to be fair. Maybe it's something we give another go.
Yeah, we should try it just to know, right? So like we can speak to that. I think for me the one that stands out if I had to pick just one would be getting like a Mother collection or Earthbound, I guess, if you want to go by its local name.
I mean, you've got 2 of them. You just need the Mother 3, and it completes the collection.
Yeah, and I guess we do have. Yeah, we have New Beginnings on
Earthbound Beginnings.
Yeah, Earthbound Beginnings is on there now as well.
Now.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I feel like that would be such a nice way to, like, finally give people Mother 3. Is like make it part of a. But yeah, I guess to your point, maybe that's not the best candidate with that in mind. Where there's already 2 of them.
See, that's what I ran into. Where it's like some of them are already on NSO.
All right. Well, I'll give you my second one then, because my second one makes I think a lot of sense, and it's Metroid, because Dread came out. And they're like, here's the timeline, and you can't play any of those games.
Absolutely need that. Like,
can't play any.
If I could have played Fusion on Switch, I would have played Fusion on Switch. It was such a great game. And there's still Metroid 1, 2, and 3. You can't play Samus Returns on anything other than a original Game Boy or 3DS at this point. Like, if you want the physical copy of the game, and it's just crazy.
Definitely.
Yeah, I had one that I wanted last year that I'm like, they'll never make this. It doesn't make sense to make this, but an Animal Crossing collection, all of the old Animal Crossing
would be crazy.
on Switch.
I
all
would
of
like
them.
that.
Just give me all of them. And then I had like a few cheeky ones. I would love, this one's not Nintendo, but I would love if Kingdom Hearts were on Switch.
Do you know it is, Chewy? It's a bargain price at $70. I think, or thereabouts, and you get to stream the games from the cloud. You don't even
It's
have to
not on
take up
Switch.
storage. Don't even have to take up storage on your console.
It's not on Switch at all. Don't lie to me.
How dare you?
It doesn't exist. The other one, this one kind of exists, but I think there needs to be a Nintendo version of it, but a rare replay, like Nintendo edition, that just is a collection of all of the Nintendo rare games.
That would be cool.
And then the last one, this Pokemon spin-off collection. Just give me all the weird, wacky Pokemon games in a collection.
Pokemon in general would be a cool collection.
Yeah, it would be nice to have a collection of, like, they could just put the generations out where it's like Gen 1 collection, Gen 2 collection, and sell that as a $60 box title, and it has all 3 of the games from a generation. Or
I want Stadium collection. Stadium 1 and 2. Give me those.
That would be cool. Yeah, I would.
I'm still waiting for Detective Pikachu to come to
Never
Switch.
coming.
They announced that like 3 years ago. Where is it?
Vaporware.
With
What
Sleep.
is doing?
The last one I
with
wanted.
Pokemon Sleep. Yeah, it's at the bottom of a bin somewhere.
The last one I wanted to call out was I think Fire Emblem. would be a good one, because Three Houses was, the most successful Fire Emblem to date, and I think like getting people like literally just like the ones that were on 3DS that like really cemented the franchise's popularity and like helped get us to where we are with the franchise today. I think a lot of people would be interested in going back and playing those games, and they did, because they had Awakening, they had what was the one that had the Fates, and then there was the remake as well,
Shadows of Valencia.
Yes, and I think all of those in a collection would be really cool.
It's a lot of games.
Would be very expensive probably, because like Valencia, there's 3 games, right? Like.
But it would be like a collector's edition. They probably put each game on to the eShop as a separate thing, but then for the fans, you get like, a physical cartridge,
art book,
like a poster, an art book, a still book. It would look like it would be really cool.
I feel like
good reminder here. 3DS eShop is dying. Fire Emblem Fates Revelations is unavailable outside of the eShop. I mean, there is like the special edition cartridge that has it, but you're not going to spend your money on that. Just download it. It's $20 if you already have one of the versions.
So there you go. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the ones that makes the most sense, because they're not old enough to be retro, but they, I think, could be more appreciated now. All right. Well, speaking of appreciation, we're going to segue into our main topic this week, which is celebrating another very special birthday. We've had so many very special birthdays lately. And of course, this week, it was the birthday of one Super Nintendo, right? Of course, the juggernaut, I think it's fair to say, of the 16-bit era, one of the most influential and, dominant consoles, I think, in like the public consciousness of all time. And I guess, I will say this to our international viewers, right? It's the Super Famicom for you folks, right?
No,
or you guys were
SNES.
Yeah?
SNES.
Didn't you have a weird name for it, or you just had the weird colors?
No, you were the one that had the weird colors. Every other country got the cool-looking console, the like cutesy-looking one.
Ours is purple. What are you talking about?
The nice colors. Have you seen the difference in the consoles though? Like the difference between the one the rest of the world got and the
they look pretty different.
One that you got.
You got the
like,
set top.
Yours was hideous.
Or the top loading.
We got this nice thing. Yeah, they were both top loaders on the SNES. It was the NES.
Oh no, yeah, you're right.
But if you look at the SNES, like EU versus like NA difference, and it's so striking how horrible yours looks. And I hated those stupid like Palmer Violet colored buttons that you had. I way preferred our cool, primary color.
No, it's Vaporwave, dude. No, I like it. It's this weird lavender and then like this like dark ass purple. Like, let's go.
It's bizarre. But this was like the place where we got the ABXY configuration, right? This was the first console that
I believe so.
Brought that in for Nintendo.
Another one of Nintendo's innovations.
Yeah.
First L&R buttons too, right?
You could be right on that. Yeah.
Not sure about that one, but
I don't remember them on the Mega Drive either. So you're probably right.
Yeah.
I way preferred the European SNES. I think it was Super Famicom in Japan.
I think it's Famicom to this day, right? For both of them.
Your family computer.
But it was of course the winner of its console generation, the first and most famous probably console war, right, of all time against the Sega Genesis, which never really stood a chance. No offense to you Sega kids. But of course it's interesting because I think and Chuy, I'm interested to hear from you on this one, because I know Steve and I are in a similar boat where like I have nostalgia for Super Nintendo games, but the amount of time that I've played an actual Super Nintendo, pretty limited, right? An only child, I don't have older siblings or like cousins that were gamers that had a Super Nintendo that I could appreciate. So I only ever played it at friends' houses who had older siblings that had either, they'd inherited the Super Nintendo because it was the old console, or it was like in the older siblings' room because it was the old console. And like I would get it in snippets here and there, right? Or, whenever I got my hands on one, but I never owned one myself. And most of my experience with the library comes from like ports or, doing like emulators when I was a teenager and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely one in my household just because I did have older siblings and that sort of thing. So I played quite a bit on there, but at one point, we moved. My older siblings, they're pretty significantly older to me. Like by the point we were moving, they were all in college, had their own place and stuff, so they took that with them. And so my connection with it's like pretty short, but it existed at least. And then it was some years later, we got the N64, and that was like my brother and my console, like the younger of the siblings, So more connected there, but still got to play quite a few Super Nintendo games, and definitely a bunch that I'd still like to visit too.
For me, I'm the same as you, Pete, and I think I've spoken about it before. It was my friend, my school friend Jack, who I always used to go into his house, and he had like every console, and we used to spend hours playing the SNES. It was always fighting games. Like we would always play like Mortal Kombat and stuff on it, and we would try and beat each other. And of course he beat me every single time because he knew all the moves. He knew the like what they called like finishers or like finales, whatever they called them in Mortal Kombat. Like he knew all of those where they like rip the heart out of you and stuff and just like hold it. Of course, there was no blood in the SNES version. It was only on the Mega Drive. You got
they used chocolate.
The adult version. But yeah, that was where my history with the console came from, and then obviously emulation and ports to like the Switch and to other Nintendo consoles. As I became like a teenager and adult, that's where I played the majority of the games.
You know what I didn't know until now is that apparently it was it was still being made until 2003.
Where was it being sold? Was it Brazil?
Probably, yeah. It just says that it had 49.1 million units sold worldwide by the time it was discontinued in 2003, according to Wikipedia. So,
wow. Apparently it was discontinued officially in the UK in 2005, May 23rd, 2005.
That's crazy.
I don't know how accurate that is, though, because it's Wikipedia.
You never know.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, no. Yeah, the source it has for the 2003 lifespan is from Nintendo. So
that's mental.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was trying to figure out what the original release date was, because the birthday that we're celebrating here is actually its release in the UK and in the I guess specifically the UK and Ireland, because it came out a few months later for the rest of the European folks. But yeah, it was in 1992, which
it's a great year for us.
Great year, right?
Think about all the good things that happened. We were born. Euro Disney opened. Nintendo released this amazing console. It was like a fantastic year to be alive.
It had already been out in the States for like 6 months plus ish.
At least it was like 6 months. It was like 2 years for the N64.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. But I mean, that's the thing. It had come out in Japan in 1990. So like, yeah,
Isn't that wild?
You're way behind the curve there. Yeah.
And it didn't get to some countries till like 4 years later.
Yeah.
It's like, that's insane. That would never happen today.
It's crazy to think about, right?
It wouldn't even land.
Yeah.
Like, what, are you kidding?
But yeah, seeing that, I was like, oof, I hate that. It's like, oh boy, that lines up. Yeah, we're old as dirt now, Steve. We're old as the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I know.
Sure.
What are you gonna do? But I think it's funny that as people who are like largely young for the console, right? Like, I think it speaks to how popular it was and like how lauded its library is that like we still played a lot of the games. Like, I don't know about you, but like when I was making the list of like games that I had 3 categories. I had Super Nintendo games that I really vibe with, honorable mentions, and then games I missed. And each of those is a decently long list, longer than I thought. It's like I got access to these games somehow.
I don't have that many that I really remember with and have like a lot of nostalgia with. I'm sure when, as you say some, like they'll pop into my head and be like, oh yeah, I definitely played that. But I've played like some of the big ones that everyone would expect. But I've got a list of, I picked out like the top 5 that I really wanted to play, and then like a special shout out. I always wanted a Super Game Boy. I still do to this day want a Super Game Boy. That cartridge just fascinates me. The fact that it is just a Game Boy. It's got actual Game Boy hardware in there. There's no software emulation. It's playing it, and instead of outputting to a screen, the pins go into an SNES cartridge, and it goes into there, and then it can do special things. Like there were games that played in full color that had different borders around them. The Super Game Boy was a really cool cartridge. I would love to pick one up at some point.
Absolutely.
Those are, I love those, like all of those iterations that Nintendo made of like, here, we put our cartridges in your other console so you can experience it here.
The Game Boy player.
I'm like,
on the.
I'm like, now that we're back to cartridges again, just like make one of those special cartridges, Switch Game Boy, right? Make a cartridge.
How would you possibly do that?
Plug in other cartridges. It'll look so dumb, but it'd be great.
There's a homebrew market for that, I bet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I guess to get into some of the games that we had on our list, I don't know if you guys had anything in mind. If we want to do like did you each have a top 5, or do we want to, you know?
So I've got a loose top 5 games I played, and then a top 5 games I really want to play, and we can, I guess, discuss them as we go around.
Okay. So where do we want to start then? The games that we already have played, and
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I mean, for the games that I had on my like, these are the cream of the crop that I really have messed around with. I mean, the number 1 is Super Mario World. That's an easy one for me, right?
But I'm guessing that's mainly because you played it on the Game Boy Advance, right? So obviously we spoke about that on the Game Boy episode.
Yes, that is true. But since then, I've played the Super Nintendo version many, many times. And the first time I played it was the Super Nintendo version. And I've beaten the Super Nintendo version on an actual Super Nintendo. It's one of the only games I've ever beaten on an actual Super Nintendo. So I've played both versions for sure. And of course, you got to give your big ups to the original. But yeah, that's like one of my favorite games of all time, and I think it's the best 2D Mario. You know, we did our whole Mario ranking episode. Steve, if you want to pull the number up for the folks, that is definitely a game that like I stand by, and to this day I think it's like one of the best of the genre. You know, for sure.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's just so good. Every time I see that game, I'm just like, man, I spent hours upon hours playing this on road trips to Mexico, and I love it. Saved those trips.
It's such a good like pack-in launch game too, because it's like it's a great game. Like, and
was it a pack-in? I don't think it was a pack-in.
It was for, I don't know if it was with the original, but like it was a very common pack-in game, I think.
Okay.
For maybe like the first bundle that they did. That's like one of those
the Mario
games.
Kart 8 Deluxe of that era.
Yeah, basically, right? Like I definitely believe I'm correct on that one. And I just feel like it's such a good showcase of the technology, right? Like it's like the art is beautiful, the sound's great. It's one of the funnest games on the console. Just absolute bombshell. And I think I have to get this one out of the way as well. Like Yoshi's Island, similarly, I think that's still the best Yoshi game. And like when I think about what I want out of Yoshi in 2022, and like trying to envision what a refresh of the Yoshi brand looks like, that's the one, right? Like they've never been able to replicate that success and that quality that was present in that game. which is a shame. I think Yoshi's in a similar boat with Kirby, where like you have those standout retro experiences, and then since then you've gotten a lot of just kind of like it's got a bit of an identity crisis, you know?
They'll get there. They got there with Kirby, but I'd be also fine if Yoshi died a death and never came back, because
That's so disrespectful.
After he vomited all over that island in Al Delfino, I just don't want to know him. It's just disgusting to see his little stomach icon and just vomit everywhere. But you were absolutely right. It was a pack-in with specifically the 2-controller bundle, which for me is so strange because I don't think there's any 2-player elements in Super Mario World.
No, there
I
is.
might be mistaken. There is, okay.
Yeah, because you
That
can
makes
do the
sense
thing.
Then why you would have 2 controllers then?
You can do the 2-player mode where you both take turns, where it's like one player plays as Mario, the other plays as Luigi.
Yeah, but you don't need 2 controllers
You don't need
for that,
2
right?
controllers, for that.
That's so strange.
No.
It's not like you're playing like a fighting game.
You might be right about
that. 2 controllers. I could like see it with a Mario Kart. You would want 2 controllers, but it makes no sense for me with Super Mario World.
That's a good point.
That's what they did.
Fair enough. Well, you brought this up earlier. This is another one on my list. It's Mortal Kombat 2, you know, and like obviously the Genesis version is better, but you know, I love Mortal Kombat. That's my favorite like 2D fighting series, and 2 is definitely the one that like I cut my teeth on, and that's like how I got into the franchise initially. I love Mortal Kombat 2.
That and Street Fighter 2 on the SNES were both great fighting games. I loved both of those. They were really fun. I never learned any of the moves. I was always just the kid that just button bashed and like hoped for the best. And everyone else always beat me at them. But they were good fun. I liked them. Yeah, Mortal Kombat was great. Specifically those end moves. I can't remember what they're called for the life of me.
The fatality.
Fatality.
Finish him.
Fatality. Yeah. Yeah, they were so good.
That was like
you watch the new Mortal Kombat movie?
No, I never saw it. I really wanted
it's kind
to.
of fun. It's pretty fun.
I really like Mortal Kombat. Like Mortal Kombat is good, dumb fun, and it knows what it is, and it's happy to be what it is, and it revels in it, and I love that about it. Like it's like
a Saw movie.
Yeah, but but just like less gross, you know.
Have you seen the latest games? I don't think they're less gross anymore.
But like it's so cartoonish. Like it's it's like hyper violent, not like torture porn violent. Like it's like very like this is so like we just watched a man rip somebody. Like think about I think the most iconic fatality from Mortal Kombat 2, right? You pull the head out and the spine's still attached, and it's like that's nasty. Don't get me wrong, but it's like so like Looney Tunes,
it's hilarious.
You know, like it's like that's ridiculous. You know, like this isn't. You're not watching somebody saw their arm off, right? Like slowly while they scream. It's just like, oh yeah, I ripped this man in half like he was made of paper. Like okay, all right, that's a thing. I feel like I've been rattling off mine. Give me one of yours.
I've got Super Mario Kart on here as well, which I've never played on actual hardware, but it fascinates me because this was one of those those Mode 7 games, right, where it faked the 3D, and I can only imagine seeing that back in the day and how revolutionary that must have seemed. That I'm actually moving in 3D space.
Yeah,
and you know, some of the iconic maps from Mario Kart 8 come from that SNES game. I love Super Mario Kart. I think it's a great game, and that was the first Mario Kart game, right? It's where the game originated from. It's where it all started. It's still going today. It's the biggest franchise of all time. So I think we had to mention that game.
Totally. Yeah, that's one where I've only played that game like probably under 10 times. Like I have very little experience.
You don't need to, right? Because all of the other games, every single game they make,
just gets better.
It just gets better and better and better. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is just, it's the Smash Bros. Ultimate of Mario Kart games at this point, where it's just going to have every single course in it once they finish with this DLC.
It's like, where do we even go from here?
Yeah. I don't know what they do for Mario Kart.
That's why they haven't made another one. They don't know either. I'm not convinced they know.
Just sell this one forever, I guess. We keep finding a new sucker every minute.
What do you know? 2026 new DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
I'm looking forward to them launching a subscription service specifically for Mario Kart. It's like Mario Kart
I could
Online. You gotta pay for
honestly,
like a
I could see
subscription
that
service.
being Nintendo's launch point into service games.
That would
Yeah.
rule,
Yeah,
frankly. I would definitely be down for that.
I'd get it.
What about you, Chewy?
I-
Hit us with one.
Okay. This was one I played, I guess, last summer now, and just to dip my toes into a franchise I hadn't gone into yet, but Super Metroid.
Oh, this is
Awesome
on my
time.
list of must plays. Like,
Yeah,
this
is
the
on my
next
list, too.
Metroid game I play.
I will say I probably liked this game more because I did not play it on original hardware. I played it on, through the the SNES app. And it's mostly because I know I would have just like rage quit a lot of times from dying and then having to start over from whatever save point I was
Yeah,
at.
the save point. I found that even when I was playing Fusion, the save points are so sparse that I had
Mhm.
to use save points all the time. But it wasn't until I started playing Earthbound lately that there's someone on stream told me that there's a rewind function in these
The
in these
rewind is
emulators.
so
And I'm like,
Yeah.
good.
I had no idea this existing because it's so hidden. You just hold down the ZL ZR, and then the
Yeah,
rewind thing pops up, and I'm like, this is fucking great. You make one
yeah.
mistake and you just like backtrack a little bit.
Yeah. I did
I
that.
would
Sorry, go ahead, Chewy.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I would rewind a lot, but the save point came very much appreciated whenever I just like had to stop playing and was nowhere near anywhere to save, and I was just like, oh, I could just drop a save point here, go
Yeah.
somewhere else. I'm good.
Yeah, that really does make some of those old games that are like notoriously tough, like just so much more manageable.
Mhm.
I like a couple. It was like I think a week or two after the Genesis stuff came out, I replayed Sonic 2 and like used save states and stuff and just like beat it in like a night and was just like, oh, that was fun. Like yeah, that was like a nice little walk down memory lane. I didn't feel like I was bashing my head against a wall, on some of the tougher passes.
But you
Yeah.
had to get your money's worth. It's like arcade style back in the day, wasn't it? It was like you've got to
Yeah.
Mhm.
get the $50 you spent out of this game, and to do that, we'll take you all the way back to the beginning of the level, and you got to start again, or you've only got 3 lives, and when you do that, you got to start the whole game again. You don't
Yeah.
really they don't really see that in video games anymore. Like, even in Mario Odyssey, Kirby, you lose a little bit of your currency or whatever, and then you're back
You-
to where you were.
Yeah, you do have it in like some like retro style games, but now it's usually
Yeah.
more of a mechanic than it is like a game over, start over. Like sorry.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to say about like Super Metroid specifically is like from the get-go, from like the opening cutscene, I was just like, oh man, this is like dope. This is really cool as like a concept for just sci-fi story that's going on. So that's why like, prior to Dread and everything, Steve, I know you're like, this story is dumb and that kind of thing. I was like, just turn on and watch the intro cutscene to Super Metroid, because right away I was just like, this is amazing. Why have I not touched this until now?
Yeah, I think I need to go back and watch it because there's so much I missed. Fusion filled in a lot of the gaps
Mhm.
for Dread, because obviously there's the SAX. That's where they were introduced in Fusion, and I can imagine going back again to some of the prior games would be better for me. I don't think I can go back to the NES game though. I think that's a step too far for me. I've tried.
I've tried
That
it
was
too. It's tough.
before
I
I
mean,
was
there
into
is
Metroid, but
You should try it with
there's the
save
zero
states,
mission version of it, right? So
I'll play that one. Yeah, I'll absolutely play that one. This is why we need the Metroid collection, so that we can have the best versions
Yeah.
of the games in one place.
agreed.
Speaking of, that's a good segue to another one from my list, which is the Super Mario All-Stars collection, which was like the first
Yeah.
collection of its type, and like I think probably the first video game like remaster, right? Because there's 16-bit versions of the original Mario
Presumably
titles.
it's a complete rewrite, because I would imagine they have to rewrite it for the hardware rather than just
Yeah, it was like a
porting
remake.
it
It was
over,
like a from the ground up remake in the new visual style, which is really
you
weird.
like that? Because I would find it so strange looking at like those games in 16-bit style.
It's strange, but I also do like it. Like it's a cool way to experience those games in a slightly different way. You know, like they're not. I wouldn't say that they're like the definitive versions of those games, but like they're really cool. And I remember as a kid, it fucked me up because I remember like playing that and being like, "Why does this look different? Why does this have weird? Like, what's up with the colors?" And like it like blew
There's
my little
something
mind.
not quite right about this.
Yeah, and like being really young, like I remember being like, "Oh, I don't understand why it's different, but I know it's different," and I was interested in that. And I remember like figuring it out and being like, "Oh," and like it like that act of discovery is something that like I remember going through that as a kid, and it was like in some person's basement that I don't even remember how I was related to this person. It was like a friend of my grandmother's, or like it was like a friend of a friend kind of thing, and I was probably at this house like one time, you know, but like I remember that moment so vividly, and like I don't know why, it's just one of those like classic memories, you know?
I feel like that just like sticks in your head though when you're just like, I remember this place had video games. That's the only thing you need for it to just like stay forever.
They had a Super Nintendo, and I played like that is one of the times I got to play a Super Nintendo. Is like I was left in this space for hours and was like, yes, like let me, you know, test out all these old ass video games.
Another one I had on my list that I remember fondly playing is A Link to the Past, and I only played this after I played Breath of the Wild. That was the first time I
Wait,
completed
what?
A Link to the Past. That was the first time I completed it. I'd played it, never got through it, and I played A Link to the Past, and then obviously what's it called? The remake of Link's Awakening came out. I need to play more of the 2D Zeldas. I really want to play A Link Between Worlds. I need to play Minish Cap.
Yeah.
Like there's just I've not played any of them.
Steve, we should do a stream where you play the original NES Zelda, and I'll like
I'll
Sherpa you.
I tried.
I'll
I
Sherpa
really
you.
tried.
It's painful.
It's not even that bad. You guys are babies. Come on. I did that in I think it was like a 3-part Let's Play series on like one of my old YouTube channels with my best friend. And like that's just like he just pulled up like a game facts guide, and I was like, okay, I'll be on the sticks and you just help me navigate this insanely like obtuse world.
That's the only way I could complete Link's Awakening. That stupid one with the ball, the stupid temple with that bloody ball thing.
Right, and that was fun. We could do the same thing.
I'm happy to do that. I don't really enjoy what I've played of Zelda on NES. I just don't. I'm definitely not playing Zelda 2. That's just not happening.
I mean, do it for the content, Steve. Do it for the content. You know?
Fucking weird side-scrolling shit. Like, what?
Isn't that like the weirdest fucking thing? How that was like, because again, right? Like this was like before video games really like had sequels, and it's like so weird that like the Mario to Mario 2 in the USA, right? And then Zelda to Zelda 2.
Oh yeah, they're both different as well. Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? There's like no consistency between these titles. Like you're like, yeah, you like this top-down adventure. Now it's a side scroller. That's cool, right? It's like, what? What are you doing to me?
Sequels in the early era are just like they're just like that. I feel
it's weird. It's cool though, right? Like it's cool to think of like when things like that were novel. The idea of like there's a Mario 2? What? Like
yeah,
so funny.
But specifically, like A Link to the Past, like that game, the visual style, still holds up today. I think it's one of the most beautiful looking pixel art games
I feel that way about the Super Nintendo in general. Right, like
it's a really good era. That looks way better than like you look at the N64 era, hideous,
garbage,
games, truly ugly. But the SNES, it was like we reached peak on what we could do with pixels on a screen, and like I don't think we've really gone a lot further. Like I think games like Stardew Valley, for example, and things like that do look better, but what they managed to achieve.
Don't get me wrong.
Little chips on a CRT.
Yeah,
screen,
with the limitations they had, and like the style that was developed during that era, for sure, is like it's obviously still incredibly influential to this day. We have pixel art games come out every year now, and most of them look like Super Nintendo games.
Yeah.
My next one kind of goes off in a different direction, but Breath of Fire. This is one I never actually played on Super Nintendo. I think it's on the NES, the SNES app now, but I played this on the GBA, and I don't remember how I got my hands on it. I think somebody just like let me borrow it, and I was like, oh, cool. I like RPGs. And it's a turn-based RPG thing with like the wackiest He-Man feeling artwork on the cover ever. I love it. But yeah, I just had a good time with it. It's super tough. I felt like everything was gonna kill me all the time, but yeah, just a random little game that popped up and I think has like a bit more of a cult following, I think. Because there are like sequels to it.
Yeah, a direct sequel, Breath of Fire 2. I've never heard of it. It's a Capcom game.
I've heard of them, but I've never engaged with them.
Yeah, I need to check that out. It looks really cool. I love the style.
Yeah, the box art is just like fantastic for.
That was the thing of the era, right? The box art of all of the games back then, and like forget the Sega ones because they had those at least in Europe we had those shitty like fucking grids with like a logo on and it looked terrible. But
Yeah.
The Genesis boxes are fucking sick. We had like they're like VHS like boxes. They're awesome.
Yeah, they're like solid fucking plastic.
They're really cool.
Most of the boxes for Super Nintendo games are gone because they were like flimsy cardboard. But the artwork that they put on them, I hope there's a book somewhere that I can get that just has all of them because
that 100% exists.
It's so different to the game. Every single time, it never looks anything like what the game looks like because it's just like an artist's interpretation.
I mean, that is way worse on the NES. If you want to talk about that, go look at the box art for the like right now. Google. I'm gonna pull it up for the Mega Man, the original box art. Is insane.
And now that I'm thinking of it too, like I'm trying to remember. I guess was it?
Oh my god!
DS.
This ugly ass yellow man.
Oh man!
Do you see this?
I think it was like DS games where Nintendo finally like switched away from like the cardboard stuff, right?
DS was the first one, which is crazy to me.
Is it really?
Like all my N64 boxes dead. I wish I had
GBA
those
games, which I guess was GameCube out before the DS. I guess it was a little bit.
Oh yeah, maybe it was GameCube.
I'm trying to.
That was the time they switched over. And I love the fact that in all of those DS boxes, there's a slot for a Game Boy game as well. Like you can put a Game Boy cartridge in each of those as well if you want to. I love it. But
it was GameCube.
I really wish that they'd have gone down the route that Sega did with the plastic cases because we'd have had so many of these awesome box arts just left around now. But it was plastic, and I guess it's because most people are going to chuck these away because we've got the plastic cartridge anyway. So what's the point in kind of keeping?
It drives me insane.
You're telling me you didn't do that? Have you got all the boxes for your original?
No, and I hate it. I'm very upset that I don't have them. I tried to keep them in good shape. Like I would fold them up and put them in, and then like I don't know, my parents threw them away or something. My mom tossed them. You know, it's like motherfucker. Like
I had my Banjo-Kazooie box for so long. Banjo-Kazooie, Diddy Kong Racing, and Super Mario 64. Those were the first 3 games I got on N64, and I had them for so long until one day I just didn't. They got destroyed.
It's sad. It's really sad.
Meanwhile, I have like every PlayStation game in those CD jewel cases. Like I can pull them out.
They weren't
right
always
now.
that though. Have you seen any of the original PlayStation long boxes from the original North American launch, and they're like cardboard sleeves?
Really? Yeah. No, I've
really
never
rare.
seen
If
them.
you can get hold of some. They're worth collecting.
That's cool. So I've got a couple more on my main list before we get to honorable mentions. One of them is F-Zero. It's the only F-Zero game I've ever actually played. And this was one, I've told this story before, where the Wii U was in that early software drought and they were putting out a bunch of the virtual console games for like 99 cents or 30 cents or something like that. as like a promo thing and like getting people to engage with stuff on the console. And F-Zero was one of those games, and I played the shit out of F-Zero on the Wii U. That was like, you want to talk about TV games? Yeah, like when I was back in the day, like I was playing that game a lot. It was like that and Punch Out and Balloon Fight were in heavy rotation for me, and I really got into it. And yeah, that game is a lot of fun.
I had a couple more to call out too. Turtles in Time.
That's on my honorable mentions list. Yeah, it's like one of the best beat 'em ups ever.
I wanted to be a Ninja Turtle as a kid so bad, and my whole family knew it. Every time I saw like a manhole cover, I'd go run up, stand on top of it, and yell, "I am a Ninja Turtle!"
They're Hero Turtles, Chuy, not Ninja Turtles. Thank you.
No,
we don't need to hear about your Lilat Wars revisionist history over there, right? You Brits and your sensitive. Hero Turtles, okay? They're ninjas.
You go and colonize everything and then go and try to change it.
Yep.
I see how it is.
Unbelievable.
That's our move.
But yeah, like that game was like an easy get for my family because they knew I loved Ninja Turtles. And then just honorable mention, Mario Paint. Super awesome kind of documentary thing on YouTube by Gaming Historian on that game.
Oh, that's a really good video.
Yeah, such a good video.
I have a Mario Paint mouse. You can.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, my younger brother loved Mario Paint, but like way later when he just like discovered being able to like emulate things, he played with the little music player for hours upon hours, and he was like, "Look at all these songs that I made."
A lot of people started chiptune careers with that game.
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
that game launched careers. People who played it were just that was their entry into game design and making video games. It's cool. So
yeah, shout out to Mario Paint. So I've got two more on my like main list before I get to honorable mentions. It's Donkey Kong Country / Donkey Kong Country 2.
I've got that on my list of ones I really want to play. I've never played Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
I've played the original a lot. 2, I only played the Game Boy port, which is pretty different. I think it's actually called Land or Returns or something like that, and it's based on 2. I've touched 2, but I don't have as much experience with it. But I mean, yeah, those are obviously legendary platformers, and you know, some of Rare's finest work. So definitely good shout out.
Give us the Rare Replay Nintendo collection.
Yeah,
I've
never played 3. That one I've never touched. That might be, I guess, one on my games I missed list.
Is that the Dixie Kong one?
Dixie's in 2. That's the one Diddy and Dixie are in, and then 3, I think it's the. I don't think his name is Chunky, but he's round. He's like bigger and like slower. And
It could be Chunky.
It might be.
Like, apparently in Earthbound, in the Japanese version, the kid's name instead of Pokey is actually Porky because he's a fat kid. So, I didn't give a shit back then.
They don't care.
Mm-hmm. Nobody did.
And then I also had Kirby Superstar on there. That's one of the better Kirby games for sure. Yeah. And it's got all those like fun mini games and stuff, and started the time honored tradition of Kirby games having a ton of mini games. So then on my honorable mentions, I had Kirby's Dream Course. Have any of you ever played this? It's like a golf style game.
I haven't, no, but
No.
Willie Hoon tweeted that this was their favorite.
So much fun. So much fun.
I liked the GIF that they included with Kirby with the little beret with the golf like flag coming out of his head. Kirby's great. I'm a real Kirby fan. The latest games converted me.
Damn right. Then shout outs to Final Fantasy 4 and 6. Those were, we got them as like 2 and 3. That's like where all the weird naming stuff comes in, and yeah, those are games that like
Stupid.
I played ports of and stuff as a kid, and definitely like started my interest in more adult turn-based RPGs. I've never finished either of them, I don't think.
6 is on my list to play. That's the first one.
I'd like to play it as an adult. I think I'd get a lot out of it. It's like many people argue that that's the best one, and that like Kefka's the best villain and all that stuff. And And I definitely I can see that argument.
That and Chrono Trigger is another one I always really wanted to play.
That's
but
on my
I've
honorable mentions.
I've started Chrono Trigger like 1,000 times, and I've
Yep.
just never got anywhere with it. And I just really want to commit and just be like, I'm gonna play Chrono Trigger this summer, and this is the game I'm gonna finish.
I
this
tried to
summer,
play it on
is
my
Chrono
PSP,
Trigger.
but it's the freaking PlayStation port with the terrible load times, and I was like, this is I can't deal with this. This is untenable.
They really need to sort out that like situation with that game. It's had so many terrible ports.
How is
all
it
over the
not
place.
playable anywhere in a good fashion? One of the most
It's really
legendary games of all time. Like, what are you doing, Square? Get your house in order.
I think probably buy it somewhere, so you've given them some money, and then just emulate the SNES.
I did buy it. I bought it on the Vita.
just emulate the SNES version then, because that's the best version.
The
of
DS
game.
version
It's
is the
one
best
everyone should
version,
play.
from what I understand. They did a port on the DS and they added new characters and like
Okay.
it's got some good quality of life updates. That's apparently the way to go if you can get your hands on it. As a result, I believe it's pretty expensive though.
I can imagine it's very expensive. Yeah.
And then my last two honorable mentions before I have the games I missed are NBA Jam, which I love. Super fun game, and I bring it up all the time in terms of like I would love a modern arcade basketball game in the style of NBA Jam, but with like modern players. And like Chuy and I played the arcade version when he came and visited me, and we went up to Barcade. And yeah, I won a game with the Philadelphia 76ers, so I was feeling pretty good about that. But it's like that's I think probably the definitive basketball game of this era, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe that's another collection you need. It's a Jam collection.
Oh,
Just
that
do
would
all
be
the Jam
awesome.
games, put them all together.
That would be awesome. Shut Up and Jam. That's the other one. Barclays? Yeah, I think it's Charles Barkley's Shut Up and Jam. Good stuff. I love it. I love a good arcadey basketball game. Give me Mario Hoops, Nintendo. What are you doing to me? I need it. And then my last one was Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage. That's the red cartridge. Have you seen this, Steve?
No, I haven't.
Look it up. It's
a bright red cartridge.
It's a bright red cartridge, and it's so fucking cool. It's like the coolest looking cartridge ever.
Really? Beats out Ocarina of Time Gold cartridge?
I think so. The gold is cool, don't get me wrong, but like, come on, Like, just look at it.
I love it.
And it's like, you got Carnage on there looking all scary,
cool.
like, I just think that's like the coolest looking.
From Acclaim Games, there's a name from the past.
Yeah. $91 on eBay. I'm looking at this. I want one.
Our PAL version, not
Doable.
looking so great, if I'm honest. We got a standard old grey cartridge with different artwork on it. It's not.
Oh, that's
not quite as
BS,
good
man.
as your red one.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that, buddy.
Yeah.
It's a shame for you.
I don't think we got the gold N64 cartridge either. I've never seen one here. I've only ever had a grey one.
This one's definitely a fake version of this. It's $20. You want a fake. Yeah, so that makes it through my list. I had a couple more on the games I missed. One of the ones is definitely Earthbound. Still planning on playing that now that it's on the finally on the Super Nintendo app. But also similar vein, Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars. That feels like a huge gap for me,
Yeah.
I want to get it. I want to be mad that Gino's not in Smash. I want to be one of those people.
I'm trying to remember if I ever ended up picking that one up on Wii U. I don't remember. It might have been one that was on my list for a long time, but I never grabbed. But I agree. Earthbound, I will play it. I will finally play it. I watched a little bit of Steve, and I was like, man, the town just looks so cool. I love the art style to it.
We got to do a Earthbound spoiler cast.
And
Spoilers,
then
it's fucking weird. That's the main spoiler that I've learned from that game. It's bizarre. You could buy I bought a for sale sign on the last stream, and you just put the for sale sign down, and someone comes running over to you. It breaks the fourth wall all the time. It's just like you can look at this after you've had fun playing Earthbound, and it's just like, okay, weird.
I mean, you didn't know that? That's like its thing.
I love it. I think it's really cool. The only thing I don't like about that game is the controls. They're really clumsy. But if you can get
Yeah.
past that and learn that the left bumper is the control for everything, then you can play the game fine.
If Nintendo would let you remap controls like everyone else.
They do. You can remap them in the system level, but then you'll be fucked getting to the actual game because they'll be like mapped to something random. But the real issue is everything's in a menu. So like it's A or L, and those are like really the only buttons you use in that game. And there's X to bring up the map, but otherwise you've got all of these other buttons that you never utilize on that controller.
Mhm. Clearly designed around that controller, very clearly. I haven't played the Donkey Kong Country games, so I definitely want to check those out. Chrono Trigger, who knows if there's ever going to be a version of that to play. And then I want to. I want to play Harvest Moon. I got it on the Wii U Virtual Console recently, and just like the original Harvest Moon. So,
I've played that a little bit. It's good. But I think what I ran into with it was that it was pretty similar to I think it's Friends of Mineral Town, which is the Game Boy Advance one. And it's like I think inspired by that one. So I was like, oh, okay, like this is familiar to me. I kind of want to just go play that one though. You know, it's like kind of a similar thing there. But yeah, I mean that's again, right? Iconic. The game that spawned a whole genre.
Yeah.
Similar in terms of like I guess like very genre specific things. I really want to try Super Castlevania 4. Like I've never really done a Castlevania.
You want to play a Castlevania game?
Yeah, I mean,
you like Metroid.
I got into Metroid.
Maybe I like the classic Castlevania.
That's what I'm thinking. You know, it's like maybe I give it a shot, right? Like, am I a Metroidvania fan now, or do I just like Metroid
Are you
Dread?
more of like a fantasy guy or more of a sci-fi guy? Because maybe you will like it. I know I'm more sci-fi really.
I don't think I'm one or the other. Like I definitely really like. I don't know.
Both.
I like both. Like I like swords and sorcery a lot, you know, like, and I think there are times where I lean more in that direction, but like I could say the same thing about sci-fi, right? Or it's like there are a lot of sci-fi properties that I really, really love. And also like superheroes are pretty inherently like sci-fi-y, and I like them a lot. So, you know, I think it, you know, they both have their merits for sure. And then the last one I had on my list was the Mega Man X series. I've never really gotten into Mega Man X. I am a big fan of Mega Man 2, which is the only original Mega Man game that I've been able to beat. And that I didn't beat with save states. I played it for like over a year, just learning it and finally beat it. And that was an achievement. I was real stoked about that. And then I tried to do it with Mega Man 3, and I was like, I'll have to come back to this one. And I never got around to it. But yeah, the Mega Man collection on Switch got a lot of play for me in those early days for sure. So I would love to like give Mega Man X the old college try. A lot of people, you know, that's their Mega Man, right? So I'd like to give it a shot. I've played like the Zero games, which are like similar to X, but you know, they got their own flavor.
The only other one I've got on my list that I've never played is the original Star Fox, or Star Fox 2 for that matter. I've not played either of them, but Star Fox 2 didn't really come out. I'd like to try it and see just how clumsy and probably bad it is.
It's a little
by
stiff.
today's standards.
It's fine.
But I think it would be cool to see where it started. Like that kind of is the beginnings of 3D on game consoles, and I'd love to see where it all started and just give it a try. I'll probably last like 10 minutes and then just be like, nah,
bounce off of it. Yeah. Any more from you, Chuy?
No, I mean, I feel like we've mentioned all of them.
There we go. All right. So if you guys want to write in with your favorite Super Nintendo games, you missed your chance. I already put out the tweet. I don't know what to tell you.
Lots of people did reply.
Wait, we did? We got replies?
Yeah.
Steve, pull them up. Pull them up before we go. Let's read a couple of favorites from the folks. I'm so sorry, everybody.
You're just blasting all of our audience, and they actually did reply.
I'm like, how dare you?
Asobi said his favorite Super Mario World, but I'll do a sneaky and say Super Mario All Stars plus Super Mario World. Timberwolf said,
yeah, that. I would argue that might be the best video game cartridge ever printed.
yeah,
that's an incredible collection.
Combo, yeah,
for the best games in the genre.
Timberwolf said, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. M said, I refuse to believe that the tweet wasn't baiting me specifically with a gif of Earthbound. I guess they really like Earthbound.
M is my Earthbound. Like, that is their favorite game. They've been trying to get me to play it for like 10 years. I'm finally going to do it. I promise.
Nick Benavina said Cowabunga. So I'm presuming it's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. And then Willie Hoon said Kirby's Dream Course. So
we hit all of them.
We got more, yeah.
I appreciate that. So, perfect. I very much appreciate all of you who wrote in. Thank you so much. Y'all are the best. You did it. You nailed it, everybody. And to think, I almost did you dirty like that. I apologize, everyone. Expect my apology video tomorrow. So, thank you all again for joining us here on another episode of Nintendo Noise. This was a fun one. And yeah, let us know if you didn't get a chance to write in with your favorite. You know what? As an apology, I'll let you get it in. I'll let you get it in under the wire. Okay, maybe we'll read it next week. But we've got some other birthdays coming up later this year in the GameCubes. We're gonna be doing an episode all about that in a couple months. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll have to do a couple more of these, where we can have a nice little retrospective on some of our favorite Nintendo consoles before we do our inevitable tier list, which is gonna get nasty. That'll be a straight up blood feud, I think.
Yeah, because I know Game Boy is not going to be anywhere below S for you.
Triple S. Triple S. It's the best. I gotta get some more olds on the podcast to argue for the Game Boy and the Super Nintendo, or on the NES alongside me. And we'll see what happens with the Virtual Boy. But yeah, so thank you all again for tuning in to this week's episode of Nintendo Noise. If you want to get involved with the community, if you want to show your support, head over to patreon.com/flipscreengames, or head over to flipscreen.games, our website, and get links to all the rest of the places that you can find us all over the web. For this week's episode, I've been Pete, he's been Steve, he's been Chuy. We'll see you next week.